Hey, what's going on, fellow Scions? Today we get to look at the updated kit of Odin. This is one of my first stops when the new heroes came out on Godforge.gg. You can follow the link down below and check out more of the hero kits, but there's going to be a lot more content coming on this channel about all of the information we have about these heroes that we are going to be getting for early access of Godforge. Remember, guys, there's going to be over 220 heroes for that, and so there is lots of information to go through, and frankly, just lots of content ideas that are in my brain. So make sure and hit the subscribe button so you can watch all of that content in the near future. But Odin, All-Father, man, when he was in the alpha, he just did not land well. His abilities, he had some versatility, he had some control, but for especially being an eternal disruptor, he just didn't really land. And I did take it upon myself. I do have all the old abilities that we knew of in the alpha, so we can go over those very briefly, and then we're going to look and see what his updated kit is. And so as we look and see what he used to be, you're going to see right here that in his first basic attack, laying claim, that it was attacking one enemy with 240% attack with a 35% chance of placing charm on the target for 2 turns. Now, charm was a great ability, but a 35% chance on, let's be honest, an eternal legendary just seemed kind of low. And this didn't really often do very many things, and there was a lot more focus on his ultimate. But it did grant an extra turn if the target was defeated, but you weren't necessarily building him for damage. I mean, you could, but even still, he wasn't necessarily fitting the role that he was intended to. On his core, it was attacking all enemies 3 times, each hit having a 30% chance of placing confused. Now, with a 30% chance with 3 hits, this basically did, increase to 100% chance. Typically, like more often than not, you were placing confused on everyone, and that was nice. And this is why I didn't necessarily put a lot of hate on this guy, because there was some really good CC going on with him, but it still wasn't guaranteed, which kind of just stunk. But if the enemy is under a disable, places corrupt on the target for 2 turns. And additionally, if Jerry or Frecky, they weren't in the game, it didn't really matter, but increased the turn meter by 100%. For the Awakening 3, each hit had a 50% chance to decrease the target's turn meter by 10%. Again, really good control, helped you a lot. But when there were other heroes in the alpha that did things like this, and honestly faster more often, he just didn't hold up to his eternal status as a legendary. And then we had Ragnarok, attack all enemies 310% attack and decrease the divinity by 30%. If an enemy's divinity is fully depleted by the attack, has a 20% chance to execute them. Cannot defeat bosses in this way. I mean, I didn't use him enough to even see this in true action. Sure, it could be fun, but also by the time you're getting this ultimate, they weren't necessarily at that stage of divinity. It could definitely be a lot of fun in arena, but that wasn't in alpha, and so we didn't really get to play around with that very often, or at least value it much. If not, though, let me know, what was your alpha experience with Odin? Did you use him a lot? Did you find that he just kind of hit like a wet noodle? Like what did you think? Let me know down in the comments. But you increase the chance to execute by 50% on the Awakening. But again, this is like, if you hit these levels, you have a chance to execute. It wasn't like, oh, you deplete their divinity and you execute them. I mean, pretty sick if it was guaranteed. It would seem pretty insane, honestly. But all in all, his generator also was 50 divinity when stealing turn meter from an enemy, which wasn't happening all the time in his kit, so he didn't get as much divinity as you would have liked. And so yeah, it just kind of, he didn't land in alpha. His passive is when damage is inflicted on an enemy by their ally, still 10% of the damage enemy's turn meter. I mean, the passive did help boost it, but even still, he just wasn't doing it very well. So what do we have now that we have the updated Odin? Why do I think he is an eternal legendary worthy of the name All-Father? Well, we know that he's a disruptor, and we know that historically some of the disruptors haven't really necessarily landed very well in terms of actually disrupting the team well. Like, there was defenders or even some damage dealers that necessarily had more control effects and impact on the enemy team than some of our disruptors did. Looking at you, Loki. Sorry, pal. But let's take a look. Odin All-Father, laying claims, attack one enemy at 240% attack with an 80% chance to decrease the target's divinity by 10%. First, when you're leveling up this skill, especially with it starting at 80%, we don't know this, we haven't seen it, but I would practically guarantee, I would bet that this levels up to 100% chance to decrease the target's divinity. And if the target is under charm or confuse, you steal 10% of the target's divinity instead. So you are removing that, you're disabling them from being able to use their ultimates, but then you're also, if you're already using the CC, which I'm assuming actually is in his kit, you're going to be stealing it as well, further boosting Ragnarok, the ultimate. But let's go on to the core. Attacks all enemy 3 times. Again, the same, like you're still getting like the single attack, the 3-time hitter. I think the percentage is pretty similar, if not the exact same. But the first hit has a 75% chance to place confuse. 75, that there's a solid chance that that is going to level up to 100% chance to place confuse on each target for 1 turn. Remember, this guy is eternal, and so there isn't an affinity weakness for him in this game. And so while he may not be getting like a ton of strong hits or anything like that, it doesn't necessarily matter, because while as long as you have the accuracy, these effects are going to be placing. So that's great. But the second hit has a 75, probably 100, booked up, leveled up, chance to place lock passive on each target for 2 turns. That's huge. 2 turns of blocking passives. We know off based off of all the time that we've been following Fateless that the passive gameplay inside of Godforge is a huge mechanic of the game. So being able to lock down passives, think about, Hercules, for example. If you lock down his passive, the chance like him saving himself from death won't happen. You'll just down him. Think of Sun Wukong. If you're facing Sun Wukong in the arena, locking down his passive, no ally joined attacks. I mean, there's so many passives, so many. Think of Ymir with the chance to freeze you. Lock down that passive. You are no longer getting frozen on your own turns. Incredible, incredible debuff to have in the kit. Puts on each target for 2 turns. The third hit has a 75% chance to increase the rank of all debuffs on each target by 1. Guys, this means you place debuffs, you place level 2 debuffs. Those are the debuffs that are typically in like legendary or epic skill kits. You rank those up to level 3. So they're doing more damage. There's a greater cut in the defense, there's a greater cut in their attack, like all of these things. We're not seeing a whole lot of this like increase, decrease rank. We see it on another hero so far, but this is an absolutely incredible ability to have in a kit. This makes him alone an eternal legendary worthy of the name, in my personal opinion. But additionally, if Jerry or Freki are on the team, increase their turn meter by 100%. These two are the 2 wolves inside of the Asgard faction, the realm. They have not decided. Like, we don't have any of their abilities. They're all under review. And so we don't know exactly what this partnership is going to look like. I'm definitely excited about it. It could be so much fun, but we don't know exactly what all that's going to do. But basically, you use your core and 100% turn meter, you may still not be going next, but you're going to be pushing those guys up to a much higher level in the turn meter by using this ability. On its awakening, each hit also reduces the duration of all buffs on the target by 1 turn. I mean, you are increasing the power of their debuffs. You are decreasing the amount of turns they have buffs, the duration of their buffs. You're putting confuse on them so they will basically miss their next turn. Like this is great. Like if you go over to ravenpyros.com and just to check out, like, I know for me, I'm still forgetting what all the disables do, and many of you may not be that way. I personally am. There's a lot of stuff to learn still, but this hero attacks a random ally with its basic abilities, doing 75% reduced damage. Okay, sure, it's not a ton of damage, but you're still disrupting, you're still messing with them. They're hitting their own selves, especially if they have AoEs, you're hitting their entire own party. Absolutely incredible disable to put on the team. I love this change. So Ragnarok now, attack all enemies, 310% attack and equalize the divinity of each enemy to the enemy with the lowest divinity. This guy is doing so much for divinity control, and we don't know exactly what that's going to look like in game. We haven't really done a whole lot in terms of manipulating and managing divinity. There was some of it in alpha, but we were so focused on just like attacking our way through the levels that it didn't necessarily need a whole lot of ingenuity when it came to things like this, where we are focusing more on divinity control than just nuking them down. But you can see here, I see initiative down in it as well. So let's keep reading. If there is only one enemy, decrease the target's divinity by 30% instead. Okay, so you lower it down to the lowest one, which could be, this is an ultimate. You can choose when to use this, like right after an enemy uses their ultimate, so that basically they're at zero, you put everybody else at zero. That's awesome. But if there's only one, yeah, they decrease by 30%. This could be decreasing someone who's at 100 down to 70%, giving you more time. But if the target's divinity is reduced below 50%, has an 80%, gonna assume leveling to 100, chance to place confuse on the target for one turn. And if the target's divinity is above 50%, has an 80, probably to 100, chance to place initiative down 2 on the target for 2 turns. So not only are you decreasing that divinity, but if they're still close, so let's say you are doing that single target, or even everybody, and you still put them down at above 50%, you might be doing it on manual, you might be doing it on auto, and you have less control over that, and this might happen more often. That still means they're getting initiative down, which means that their divinity meter is going to be increasing much, much slower as they go. And if you put initiative down 2, and you then also then use your core after this, you would then be ranking up. Yeah, you'd be increasing the rank of that debuff to level 3, which, for those of you that don't know, because I don't certainly know the percentages, but initiative down, that means that their initiative growth is decreased by 30%. That gives you all kinds of opportunities to get in more attacks and more damage. This guy is controlling the team, controlling the divinity meters to a crazy extreme. His awakening bonus is if this hero takes the first turn in a battle, activate their ultimate ability without consuming divinity. That triggers once per battle. So you make him Speedy Man, which, interestingly enough, let's see, if you take him up to 6, his starting speed is 104. Okay, I don't have a huge like awareness of what is good speed, what's not. One, I would say just generally in the fact that it's over 100, that's probably a good indicator, but it's not over 110. So I would assume that he's probably not one of the fastest in the games. One of the fastest in the game. Let's take a look real quick. Because if I look at, let's say, Aphrodite, she was known to be pretty fast. Yeah, okay. Her initial speed is 114. If you look at somebody like Quetzalcoatl, oh man, Quetzalcoatl, however you want to say that. Boom, okay, even faster, 118. So yeah, he's fast. If I look at, let's see, what about Freya? A non, okay, 119, even faster. Okay, but if you look at someone like Heimdall, right, a defender, he's at speed 100. So he certainly is fast, but he's nowhere near the fastest. If you look at another disruptor, and that's why I'm looking at Loki specifically for disruptor, yeah, he's slower than Loki. And so this is great and all. Take first turn in battle, activate the ultimate ability, which would confuse the targets, would drop any divinity that there was. And yeah, I mean, you'd use it and then you would still be able to use it again later. That's nice. But especially like early game, I don't see this being a viable like option for awakenings. It's cool. I like it. But I mean, especially if you think about like people who are playing a little bit more casually or at least competitively, but not like at the high end of gameplay, where like whales or krakens might be, they're not going to be building, like, you're not going to be building Odin if you so happen to pull him. You're not going to be building Odin to be the fastest hero or necessarily even be able to build him in a way that would make him faster than all the other speed leads that we are assuming are going to be inside of Godforge. So I like this. I like this ability. I think this is fun, right? It adds the fun factor to Odin and it puts him in an interesting position because you're making a disruptor rather than an invoker be your fastest hero. But you would still need to be able to place confuse for it to really be impactful. Hmm. It's interesting. Don't get me wrong. And it's definitely helpful because his requirement for using his ultimate is very high. 1850 is a lot. Man, did they? Oh, no. So they add clicks for the ultimate cost and the initial divinity, but they don't add clicks in for the actual buffs and disables. I would love to be able to see, get Fateless if you're watching. Would love to be able to see us click on these and actually pop those up. That would be really cool. But yeah, so I don't see this awakening bonus being extremely beneficial or worth the investment until maybe, late in game. But let's take a look at his passive. At the start of the wave, place Charm on an enemy with the highest attack for 2 turns. And Charm is another one of those more unique ones to this game now. But when that the hero that placed Charm is attacked, the charmed hero will receive the attack instead. While not activated, this hero attacks the enemy that placed the charm. Only one charm can be active on team at any time. Okay, one charm is active. And so you place charm on the enemy with the highest attack, which is good. That means typically it might be more of your like glass cannon type. And so it may not necessarily have defense. And then the whole rest of their team is attacking him. But let me read that one more time. Receive the attack instead. Will not activate when the hero that plays charm is attacked. Okay. Will not activate this hero attacks the enemy. Okay. So I would assume right now it doesn't say that being hit removes the charm. It might be until their next turn. But this could certainly add some yeah, I mean, it could certainly add some potential benefit to him at the start of the wave. This is interesting as well. I wonder if this will be the same for Arena. So basically, at the start of Arena, if you are entering in and fighting Odin, that means that immediately your highest attack damage dealer is running with Charm on them. Now, they can still attack Odin. That's not a problem. They can still function clearly, but everyone else on your team will be attacking them if they go and attack Odin. So there's a lot of things where this won't be as beneficial. I think you can definitely like work around this very easily inside of like Arena and other parts of the game. Like I don't think you're going to be going in to Arena seeing Odin and being like, "Oh man, I have to change my entire team." You'll just need to make sure, that if you have 2 damage dealers or if you have like an attack damage dealer and like an HP or defense damage dealer, that you're not nuking with your second damage dealer, or they will attack your attack based damage dealer. Let me know what you think about this passive. I think it's interesting. I think it can definitely be helpful in wave content. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly interesting. Awakening bonus 3 applies at the start of this hero's turn instead. Huh. So then, okay, what I'm assuming that means that like at the start of the wave, that means it happens once. So in wave content, it starts 3 times. But with the awakening bonus, you get to use this every single time you have a turn. And you're already going to be building him fast because you want him to get all of his CC out quickly. And so that means you're going to be getting more and more charms. The only unfortunate thing about this, and it'd be interesting and it could probably be a lot more dangerous if it was designed this way, would be if you place charm on the enemy with the highest HP or perhaps the lowest HP for 2 turns. That would mean that you're no longer focusing on the damage dealer per se. You could be, still could be. The lowest HP could still be the damage dealer, but it's not specifically, okay, hey, highest attack gets this. Instead, the person who is closer to death is going to be attacked by their allies, or the person who is their tank or the reviver or whoever has been built with all the HP, they are going to be the ones that are going to be getting hit because because it's putting charm on the enemy with the highest HP. This is an interesting choice. It doesn't, I don't know how it necessarily synergizes with all of the confuse that's happening, like I love the confuse, I love the initiative down. There's a lot of divinity control in this kit, and I like that. I just don't know if charm necessarily functions. An eternal trickster, that's fine, that's great. I just want to check. I haven't looked at Loki recently. Okay, unending mischief. I was like, this almost just feels like a Loki passive. And we know, guys, that there is some kind of issues with this with the site. They're still doing a couple things. They fixed a lot, and so most of it is reliable from what we know. But there could still be some issues. We also know that all this data is subject to change, and so you got to keep that in mind too. But yeah, I really like a hero that is so focused on divinity control. And I think throwing confuse in there as well is like a nice like partner to divinity control. Not because it's specifically confuse, but just simply because it's I personally think confuse is fun. And I like that. Putting in charm in here seems just kind of like an add-on. And I'm not necessarily sure why they have this. Mm, yeah, I don't know. Charm is very much a disruptor type debuff. Like you only really see charm from my knowledge on disruptors, and so I get that. But even still, it feels a little bit weird to me as I'm reading it now. The divinity generator is that you gain 50 divinity when placing a debuff or disable on the enemy. So you drop the core, you get four confuses out. Let's say, let's do arena, right? So you do four confuses, you do four lock passives, and so that alone is already eight. And so eight, you're already getting 400 divinity. Did I do that right? Yeah, 400 divinity on one attack. And then if increasing rank of is included in placing a debuff, I could very well see that happening in the game mechanics, but we don't know until we test it. But that's another 400. So that's 1200, 1200. Yeah, I'm doing that math right. That's 1200 divinity from one attack. So either 800 or 1200. But you're also then placing charm, and so that's already another 40. You put lots of initiative on him, initiative up in the team, all kinds of things. You are getting to this ultimate so quickly. So quickly. Yeah. Leader bonus 70 accuracy in all battles. He needs it. That's great. You can build him with more tankiness, more speed. Because if you place him in the lead, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And yeah, I mean, the ascension bonuses and awakening bonuses have been pretty same all along, but he gets actually you get speed and initial divinity. So okay, initial divinity. So he has 250 initial divinity. You do 250 plus 1200 if if this counts as placing a debuff. But it could be anywhere between 800 and 1200. So let's just say it's 1,000. Let's just say it's 1,000. That's already 1250. You're 600 away. You add another set 250, so that's 1500. You are really just moments away from getting your ultimate after one attack. You get another charm in here. That is 1550. Yeah, 300 away. Could be more. If this does not count at all, then you'd probably be dropping the 200 down to 800 for confuse and for lock passive. And so then you're getting what 800 plus the 500, so you're at 1300 already on one attack. That's really not that bad. 1850 is high. It definitely is. And a lot of the Eternals that we've seen seem to have these higher ultimate costs just because their ultimates are as powerful as they are. But yeah, I mean, I'm loving this. I think this is a great design, a great fun disruptor, a true disruptor by the name, something we hadn't necessarily seen from a lot. So yeah, I like it. And so that's going to do it for me today, guys. The brand new Odin All-Father inside of Godforge. He is an eternal legendary disruptor. Personally, in my opinion, worthy of the name. Let me know what you think down in the comments and make sure and hit that subscribe button. Lots of information coming out about all these new hero kits right now. And so I have a big old backlog of videos to make. Lots of tier lists coming in the future too. So make sure and watch for the next one, and I'll see you then.